What's going on, guys? My name is Irvin Angulo, and welcome back to the Money and Mindset podcast. Today we have my special guest, Manzo Hodge. He is a man that has more than one business. He has his hands in a bunch of different things, and we're just super excited to have you on. Manzo, how you doing?
Good. I'm glad to be here. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So can you tell me a little bit about what you do?
Currently, I would say what I do mostly is I manage human beings. So my companies, I have 4 companies. I have Footprint Marketing, which we specialize in direct mail, SEO, SEM in the fitness industry. I have Nutrition to Go, which is a supplement company that we are in about 75 stores now.
75 stores.
75 stores. And then I have Immersion Development, where we're doing construction, TI work, ground up work, and then I have a Geeky D's restaurant. So I have 2 of those. One open and one will be done in June 1st.
Dude, that's awesome. That's awesome. Which of those 4 do you find yourself more passionate about?
Only the ones that make money.
Yeah, which ones make the most money?
Yeah. I would say right now, between Footprint and 2G, it's a close tie.
Yeah.
Geeky D's was basically a passion project that I did in kind of an honor of my parents.
That's awesome.
And Immersion, it's doing pretty well too. So I think long term, between Footprint and Footprint and N2G, so Nutrition to Go, those will be the ones that'll put me in the super retirement mode.
Dang.
I mean, I've been retired financially, I think, since I'm 38. And I'm kind of live the same lifestyle. We'll just continue to build onto the empire with, of course, real estate and other assets.
Yeah. As far as real estate goes, how big are you into all that right now?
I would say over the last probably 5 to 6 years, I've been getting more educated in real estate. And it's usually from a group of friends that I hang out with, learning how to exchange 1031 money and understanding the value of holding on to dirt for a long time. So, It's been a good education process. It's been extremely lucrative. I like real estate too, because as you develop it, it just has a really simple process of developing it. So you start with A&E, which is your architect and engineer, and it has 3 months there, 3 months in the city, 6 to 9 months building, and it's done. And there's not too many people involved into it, like being in the fitness industry.
Yeah. And then off camera, I asked you about your come up. You know, you have all your hands in all these different things.
Yep.
And I kind of just assumed from the outside that you were raised with money. That was just my assumption. I don't know why, but kind of go into that a little bit. What do you come from, and how'd you get to where you are now?
So I come from Fairbanks, Alaska. I graduated from a high school called North Pole High School.
North Pole High School.
I was like probably 15, 20 minutes from Santa Claus house to my high school.
There you go.
It's coldest winter I've been in was 68 below.
Oh my gosh.
We lived in a trailer. We slept on the floor in snowsuits and used the oven for heat. Because, there's points of times where we couldn't afford oil and the water pipes were frozen, so we'd have to pee outside, and then I would take a shower at school. So we grew up with absolutely nothing. My parents were, my dad was retired military, and my mom worked for the school district as a secretary. And, but we didn't really know we were poor. We had a ton of love in the house. They were extremely, I would say, strict, but open. So, no curfews in Alaska when we grew up, because it was just all trees and wilderness and, hunting and fishing. So it was pretty good life as far as I knew.
Yeah, I was talking on a video like 4 or 5 videos ago, and I was talking about how much money I made in this month because I'm trying to make $1 million in a year. That's kind of what the YouTube content's about. But I was talking about when I was younger, we didn't know we were poor, and some of my greatest memories is driving to McDonald's and everyone sharing the same meal, just trying to get by. So I can totally relate to not having anything, but always feeling all the love and just having a wealth when it comes to family. So I can appreciate that. At what age did you find yourself wanting to create, businesses and wanting to go the entrepreneur route? Because you're in Alaska. I don't think there's a ton of entrepreneurs coming out of Alaska. So who pushed you? What motivated you?
I think there's quite a few entrepreneurs in Alaska, depending on what type of education field you went in.
Yeah.
So I got a couple buddies who are, doctors and have a couple practices or something that's traditional.
Yeah.
But usually traditional education doesn't really make that much money. So I would say I was pretty late bloomer. I got out of high school. I came to Boise, Idaho, And my oldest brother had a scholarship here for football. So I came here and thought this was a big city in 1991. And so I have three brothers to backtrack: oldest brother, middle brother, and younger brother. And me and my second oldest, we got in some trouble. So I went from high school to prison, and I was in prison by the time I was 18. And so I did 2 years in prison for armed robbery.
Oh, dang.
Yeah, so we were out here just running wild. And, so I made some crucial mistakes. That was the last time I've been peer pressured in my life.
Yeah.
My brother and I were just morons and going out and doing stupid crap. So got out of jail at 20, started working for Fiberglass Systems, which I was just loading trucks. And that was basically it. So I was supposed to go play football, and I didn't because I got in trouble.
Yeah.
And then I worked for Fiberglass Systems like a dog, like 18 hours a day loading semis.
Jeez.
So I thought I was great. I was making probably $8 an hour at the time. And so my philosophy is, somebody pay me 50 cents or $1 more, I'd quit the job and leave.
Yeah.
My easiest job was a beer rep. I was a beer rep, and I'd just go in the store and just literally face beer.
Yeah.
That was my job. And so at that time, we'd do that, and we'd go steal a couple kegs of beer and go back to our apartment and drink beer.
There you go. That's all you needed.
I say the turning point was when I met my wife, and her and I was working at 24 Hour Fitness, so I was playing arena ball for the Idaho Stallions. I think it was like the first arena team here.
Yeah.
And they got me a job working at 24 Hour Fitness as a maintenance tech. And so I went from like $8 to $11.03. And so I thought I was rich.
Yeah.
And so I did that while I played football and worked as a maintenance tech for about 2.5 years. And then my wife graduated at Boise State in hospital administration.
That's awesome.
And we needed to get a bereavement from Idaho to work on our marriage. We're newlyweds. We had our daughter, Trinity. And so we moved to Seattle. I went to Seattle. My wife finished an executive director program. And so she went from basically, we were both making about $2,500 a month. So $30,000 a piece. And she went from that to $106,000.
Wow.
And so I was like, we're rich, right? So, and this is
what year is this?
This is 2003.
Okay.
Like mid 2003. So I was thinking we're rich. I'm like, between the two of us, we're making like $136.
That's a lot of money.
I was still doing a maintenance tech. I mean, my job as a maintenance tech, I was changing treadmill belts, lights, fixing toilets with zero mechanical skills.
Yeah.
And most of the time I'd go to work, I'd sleep in my office until like 10, get up when most people got there, go walk around, lift weights, play hoop. That was my job.
That was it.
That's all I cared about. Not this time. I was probably 20, 26, 27, and I was happy.
Yeah.
So my wife, I was like going to Tula Casino, and I was like, hey, I'm going to go to the casino and gamble. And she kind of like patted my pockets a little bit. It's like, well,
whose money?
Yeah. She's like, where are you going? I was like, what are you talking about? We got a ton of money. I'm going to go gamble. And she's like, well, you know what? We make enough money for you to pursue your dreams, but we need to save some dough. So
yeah.
She kind of sweated me on the money. And I was like, I thought we was a couple. What's going on?
What's mine is yours. What's yours is mine.
Yeah. She's like, no, go pursue your dreams. And I had this little kid. He was like 19 years old at 24 Hour Fitness. He's like, man, you should work in the sales department. I'm like, fool, I'm making $2,500 a month. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
He's like, I'm making $7,000 a month.
Dang.
I'm like, you're not selling drugs or anything, are you? He's like, no. I'm like, prove it.
Yeah.
So he was selling gym memberships, making $7,000 a month. And I was like, cool, I'll quit. Talked to the general manager. I was like, I'll come on as assistant general manager because it's minimum wage plus commission.
Yeah.
And it took me 3 months to be a GM. And so
wow.
Then I was making $10,000 a month.
Wow. How old are you at this point? 26, 27?
I was probably 20, let me think, about 28.
Wow. So when you say late bloomer,
yeah,
like at that time, that's pretty late in time.
Yeah.
Everyone already has their degree and they're doing whatever they're doing. I feel even now, 28, you feel like you're running a little bit behind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I would say I'd be 28, 29. Year later, I was climbing up the ranks at this fitness company. They were pretty corporately driven, so it was great. And back then, my management style was by fear.
Yeah.
You know, I've always been the big boy, so I was in shape back then, actually. So I was like 245 and lean.
Yeah.
And you could push people in walls and grab them and yell at them for not hitting their benchmarks in sales. And it was a good world back then. It was, you know, you're not getting told on for body slamming an employee. And I got recruited by a gentleman who had 4 Gold's gyms, and he came into my location. I sold him some training for about $5 or $6 grand. He came back in 3 day canceled. I'm like trying to negotiate with him. Come on, dude, you gotta do this. He's like, no, actually, I want you to come run my company. And I was like, nah, I'm good. At the time, I think I was making like 13 grand, so I thought I was crushing it. Yeah. And he's like, no, I'll pay you your pay. I just want you to run my company. And he wound up actually being one of my mentors.
Wow.
And so I went over to Gold's Gym. They were terrible. They had no corporate systems. They were losing about $75,000 a month. And so we went over there and changed it. And we grew to 18 gyms. And so at the time, I think we had the second largest Gold Gym franchise in the U.S. And so we had merged with another group out of Minnesota. And this gentleman named Joel Tallman, who was, he overseen all global operations for Gold Gym International. So I think it was like 700 plus clubs at the time. He was a partner in that business. And he was actually graduated as a pastor. And he was unwavering. So I loved it. He was one of those guys where you never seen him do a drive-by and look at some girl. Yeah. No swearing, no nothing. And he carried this big, huge, powerful presence about him. And I really, really appreciated it. And so I did that for 5 years and wound up acquiring a little bit of minority stake equity in it. Yeah. And I think 2008, I quit my job over a pair of earrings.
Over a pair of earrings. Mm-hmm. What do you mean by that?
I mean, at the time, I was probably making $250,000 or so. And my wife actually got blessed enough to, in 2007, when Amaris was born, my third, to have her retire. Oh, wow. So I was like a good chest pump, right? She's like, I want to stay home, be a stay-at-home mom this round. And actually, I'm sorry, I was with Jaden in 2005. Okay. And so I'm like, good. We have plenty of money. We're great. Yeah. And I'm traveling all over the place, back and forth from Minnesota, Idaho, Reno, everywhere, all the time, busy, working, 18 hours a day. And I get this call. I call her at night, and she's like, hey, I'm going to go get the girls' earrings tomorrow. I'm like, well, wait for me. She's like, well, if I waited for you, they might be 15 years old. And so it changed me. Wow. And so within 30 days, I buckled up ship, flew into Idaho. I talked to a couple of people here, got this consultancy job here. My agreement with them was like, I had some bucks in my pocket at the time. I was like, hey, pay me $10,000 a month in cash and I'll help rebuild your companies. And so I moved here in 2008. So I had a 5-year stint to where I just grew massively. So I had all the cobwebs out of my head and started really thinking. And my boss, one of my bosses, who was one of the owners, he would literally make me keep a calculator in my pocket at all times.
To close deals?
No.
To what? Just
to make sure that my math game was on point. Yeah. And he'd call me at 3 a.m. Hey, what are you doing? I'm like, finishing up some work. He's like, great. Anytime he'd show up in my office next morning from Minnesota. Yeah. And he's like, where's your calculator? But I had my calculator, he gave me like $2,500 out of my pay. Yeah. Because because everything's boiled down to math and business. Yeah. And so I have a motto of math over emotions.
Math over emotions.
Yes. So I'd rather math has no emotions. You get all your margins, you get your percentages, you get anything you want out of math. Yeah. Has no tears, has no feelings, has nothing. So I run my business math over emotions.
I like that. Math over emotions.
So we moved back here, had this consultancy job, and the gentleman, who I'll keep probably out of this conversation, flailing business. So I went out of his business, sat down with him and his wife. I'm like, she's like, why are we failing? I'm like, your husband's, stealing from you. So he was stealing massive amounts of money, bleeding him dry. And he was a male chauvinist, and he was talking pretty crazy to his wife in front of me. And I got up and I wanted to hurt him. Physically hurt him. Yeah. And I was like, I'm done. And so I moved on and started a gym on my own here.
That was it.
So I went to the first gym that I worked at as a maintenance tech and went and bought that and opened it.
Wow. So you went from janitor to owner of the same gym. Is that what you just said?
Yep.
Dang.
Yeah. They had closed down. It was a 24-hour fitness. They closed and left the market. So I went back, and that was my first split business that I actually owned myself. And I officed out of my old maintenance office.
Wow.
So it was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's full circle moment.
Yep.
Dang. So the fitness industry, that's like your bread and butter. Like that's what you know. That's what you do.
Yeah, and I think it's just mathematics. Everything boils down to the same thing. If your microphone, if it has a margin in there and you can get volume of that and sell it and make yourself 20 points, then I would sell it.
Right.
So I kind of took that model and used it in the gym. And I would say in 2012, we're doing pretty good in that location. And then my mom got sick. And so kind of life took a little bit of curveball of that.
Yeah. What would you say with all your businesses combined, including the real estate, what would you say all that is worth? A rough estimate.
I think we're probably, and so there's two ways to look at that in my brain. One way is to look at just assets plus cash and not looking at what an EBITDA or multiplier of my business is worth. And so if I look at assets and cash, I would say probably around 22 million.
Wow.
And if I look at what I believe my business is worth, I would say 60 to 70, and my goal is probably 100.
Wow. 60 to 70 mil with the goal of 100. That is absolutely crazy. Like to hear where you came from at 27, 28, which isn't all that long ago. That's like 20-ish years ago, 21 years ago. Over the course of 21 years, your life has changed completely. And you said that you were kind of retired already around 38.
Yeah.
So within 10 years.
Well, I thought I was, right?
Yeah,
so,
right.
Like you have a goal. When I was younger, I had a goal of like, I need X amount of dollars per month to retire.
Yeah.
And that's what I thought it was. But,
yeah.
Once you hit goals, you got to keep actually pursuing more goals.
Yeah. Do you think that there's ever a finish line? Like, is there ever going to be enough as an entrepreneur?
Well, it's not money.
Okay.
It's just, for me, it's just putting foot to ass, right?
Yeah.
I want to win at all times.
Yeah.
I like maturing people. So mostly my marketing dollars is I invest into people because I can only do so much with two hands. And so I like finding good humans that I want to be around with for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So when I'm traveling or golfing or enjoying anything that's outside of work, I want to hang out with people that I can trust. And so I'd rather create more millionaires than I would to put more money in my pocket.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, and I think that should be everybody's purpose. I think greed can get in the way of a lot of things, and it's easy to just fill your own tank, right? To keep pushing forward for yourself. But when I started what I own, Aqua Exterior Cleaning, the goal was to bring my brothers with me.
Sure.
Like it's always to grow people. And now that we started this podcast, like people shooting me up in the DMs, hey, can we get coffee? Can we do this? Can we do that? It's really cool to see like even myself now at this small role being able to pour into people. So what does that look like for you? Like how do you get to pour into people as far as you say, make people millionaires? What does that look like?
Well, pour into people, two facets. A, from a business structure is to giving them enough confidence and resources to start a business. Confidence and resources. Yes, confidence and resources.
I got a question.
Yes.
So my brother just came to me with an idea, and he gave me this idea. And before I even really thought about it, I let my emotions get in the way, and I was like, "Dude, that's so bad. Like that is the wrong idea because I just felt like it was my way or the highway. Could I have done better if I would have had just confidence in who he is and what he can do, and gave him the resources, and then watch him like kind of fulfill what he wants to." What he wants to do? What would you do in that situation? Or
I would use my motto. I told you, math over emotion. So I would have sat down and put it on a spreadsheet, found out, and I don't know if it was a business that he need to invest money in. What's the cost of goods?
Right.
What's our rate of return? You go down all those lines, and if you can make it fail in a spreadsheet, then it's going to fail. So yes, you can overcome, and he could be this great, phenomenal worker and be an outlier and whatever. Yeah. But if you're going to invest your own personal cash into it, then I'd put it on a spreadsheet.
Yeah. Everything goes to spreadsheet.
Everything's a spreadsheet.
Math doesn't have emotions.
No, because you said it yourself that you said you let your emotions come
I did,
over.
yeah.
And I would put it on a spreadsheet. So I go after everything possibly I can, and investment-wise, to keep spreading it out. So I had a couple medical spas that actually closed down during COVID.
Okay.
And those were great businesses, and they were good businesses. I had no clue about meds, but I knew I can afford a doctor. I knew I can afford a nurse. And so we did Botox, laser hair removal, vaginal rejuvenation, CO2 lasers, basic general practice. And I knew how to drive traffic to it from a marketing standpoint.
Yeah.
I knew how to lead people, and it was a great business. But what was even better is that, your taxes, what you can get as far as income credit tax from buying that equipment.
Yeah.
So at that time, I was using those businesses as my form of 1031, because I wasn't educated on land.
Yeah.
And so you always try to find some way to invest your money so you're not really getting crumbled in taxes. And so I would always pivot.
Yeah. I haven't unlocked that level yet. That's foreign to me.
That's the only level you should lock. The only person, and I'm going to say planetary, because of course I have my fear in God, but the only person I'm scared of on the planet is the IRS. I'm serious. So they don't play, and they do not play. So I know people hate paying taxes, but if you're making enough money, then I think you should pay it. But they do give you a lot of ground rules to kind of alleviate some taxes if you're smart enough. Yeah.
Yeah, because there's a bunch of loopholes, not even loopholes, but just like tax credits.
They're rules.
Like you're saying, they're rules, but they're set in place for a reason.
Yeah.
And you can use them if you want to use them.
Well, I think it's just the knowledge, right? It's almost like saying tomorrow you want to go do surgery. It's impossible. So you have to find somebody that has the knowledge and tax law to help you out. And I would say your CPA should be your best friend.
Yeah. Yeah. So, people say that your CPA should be your best friend.
Oh, yeah.
That's
no matter what. I mean,
is your CPA your best friend?
I have three times a week. He's my best friend.
Yeah.
But most of the financial stuff that I do and take care of myself, because I'm pretty removed from my business in certain aspects. So I built all my companies to be centered around a woman leader.
Wow.
Because I wanted my daughters to grow up, and if they wanted to take over a vertical that we have, to be taught by a woman so they can get the full gamut of juggling work, juggling a family, a husband, and still being these real monster killers in business.
Yeah.
And so my CEO and my CFO, and I think probably 70% of the people I employ are all ladies.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. So like in a place where the marketplace obviously is ran by men for the most part.
Sure.
And you're trying to create a space where it's not only ran by women, but you are also a minority. And we talked about it a little bit off camera. What does that look like? Being a minority, trying to set these foundations for women. Like, what does that look like in the business world? Do people ever come at you for it? What does it look like?
I don't know. Maybe it's arrogance, but I don't really pay attention to that.
That's awesome.
I think you have so many opportunities in this country to be successful. Most people just don't have work ethics to take that success to a different level. So being a minority, you don't
use it as an excuse.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, I think when COVID happened, one of my daughters came and said, "Hey, Dad, they want to go bend a knee down at the Capitol building for minorities and BLM and whatever."
Right.
I'm like, I'm bending a knee to nobody. Zero. Unless it's God.
Yeah.
Right. And my wife, when I'm begging her to forgive me on a couple things. Yeah. But I don't bend the knee for anybody. I don't think being a minority has any merit on your success.
That's awesome. No, I could appreciate that. I'm the same way. I don't like to make excuses. Like, I don't like to look at the color of my skin and have that be a reason to why I'm not where I should be or where I feel I should be. I think that if there's a place I want to be, there needs to be work put in place in order to get there.
Absolutely.
Like, the reason to why I'm not there isn't because I have this tattoo and because I'm Hispanic. It's because I just haven't put in the work like all these other people have. Sure. So for you, being where you are, what does that look like from an outside perspective, looking at us younger, like the younger generation? Like, do you feel like we just kind of want things handed to us more than... Anything else? What does that look like?
I think it boils down to, but so do people in my generation. They wanted things handed to them, but it still boils down to 1%.
Yeah.
And I'm sure I have to get this maybe corrected a bit, but 1% are professional athletes, 1% are entrepreneurs, 1% are doctors or lawyers. So you have an equation of people who are going to always be successful, and it just boils down to a small percentage of them. I think 99% of the world is normal.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just, and I'm not saying anything's wrong with working at Albertsons or being a tradesperson. Right. It's just, I think what you have to boil it down to is, what quality of life do you want to live in? And if you're making $30,000 a year or $1 million a year, you just have to live within your means.
Yeah.
And I think the problem is people want to live outside their means, but don't want to work to make up that difference.
Yeah, and not even just want to live outside the means, but also put up a front like they're much further along than they are.
Oh yeah.
And now I want to bring up this picture I saw on your Instagram. There's a dude posing in front of your car, and then you kind of clowned him a little bit.
Yeah.
What happened there? Tell me a little bit about that backstory.
I was at dinner with some friends, and I parked my car. I'm talking a long way away because I don't want to get it.
What kind of car is it?
It's a Rolls Royce Ghost. Yeah. So it was my dream car. Yeah. And that car, I probably drive maybe 5 times a year. Yeah. I just like walking in my garage and looking at it. It's more important. Yeah. And then like if I'm at Albertsons, somebody's out in front of my car taking pictures and stuff. After a while, it actually gets kind of more annoying or embarrassing. So anyway, so I was at dinner with some friends, and I left dinner, whatever, and I get a text message from somebody sending me a picture of this guy saying, "Oh, I'm ghosting in my city." And I was like, what? What is it? And not to mention, he was maybe tall enough to get over the spirit of ecstasy. So that's the little emblem that comes out the nose. And I was like, man, so I had to, and normally I wouldn't do that because I don't have the temperament to get trash talked back to. Yeah. I don't have that temper. I would, if he's locally, I would have found him. And so I hesitated a lot to put that on there, but my daughters thought it was hilarious. Dude, it's so funny. I was like, oh my gosh. And to further that, I get this call from a buddy of mine. He's like, hey, this guy wants to put a flyer up at this nightclub. Yeah. And he has the picture of your car in there. So it was a good chuckle. So, I mean, the young man was probably just, trying to be something he's not, or I don't know what the situation was, but it wasn't a big deal, but it was fun to poke the bear a little bit. Yeah, that's hilarious. I
always see like these entrepreneurs or these influencer entrepreneurs, and they're always talking about these big numbers, 80,000 or 80 million, 100 million. Like I made 50 million this year, but I never really know what they're talking about. Are they talking revenue? Are they talking, profits? And now hearing you after 20 years and, valuing your businesses around 70 mil to 80 mil, like you are a true entrepreneur when it comes down to it.
I want to clarify that evaluation too. That evaluation is based on me getting a 10 multiple of my EBITDA. Yeah. Right. So that's just what I believe my business is worth in my field. So you can be in a different field and have a 1 or 2 multiple of EBITDA and it wouldn't be worth that. So that's just what I'm projecting my business to be worth. Right. Somebody can come in and say, well, no, it's a 5 cap. Yeah. A 5 multiple. So but that's kind of what I'm pushing for. Yeah. So, when they're saying they're making 50 million a year, and I know some guys who make some big bucks, that's a lot of cash.
It's a lot of money.
Assets are totally different, but if they're making 50 million in cash, God bless them, but that's a huge number. A huge number. And the influencers and stuff, I just don't understand that part of it. But unless you're backed by a brand, I think even Jake Paul, he's turning out to become a genius. Yeah. With even that Prime.
Oh yeah, Logan Paul. Logan
Paul. I'm sorry. Yeah. I apologize. So he's just turned out to be a genius in marketing. Yeah. And so we sell a ton of his products in the gyms that we're in.
That's awesome.
But I think I read something where that's how he's going to become a billionaire.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how he's going to reach $1 billion. Is Prime.
Done, the guy. And I don't know the man from Adam, but he's a great marketer.
Yeah, right? No, he's phenomenal.
Smart enough to open his hands and put it into everything. I tell you, and this is October of last year. inspiration that I got to actually kick it into gear again, because I have a pretty strict schedule of, I work really hard from October through April, and then the rest of it's golf. Right? So,
are you any good?
Nobody's good at golf, but I'm not bad. I'm really good at gambling at golf.
Yeah.
So I want to shoot a shout out to Tyler Bowen and a couple other buddies, Rippy and Herbie, who we golf every week together. Yeah. But I got inspired by Mark Wahlberg.
Okay. So
I was watching Prime Time on Amazon Prime with Dion, which is super inspirational. How he treats and talks to kids and actually keeps his faith in the public eye, which is really rare these days. And then I found this show called Wall Street, which shows Mark Wahlberg and all his venues that he's in, and he puts his hands into everything. And I was like, dang, this dude is like crushing it. And he gets up and works out and does it all, but I was like, you know what? because I have so much time, I feel, because I have a really good team. Yeah. And so every year I put on a new vertical to my team. Yeah. And so they have an opportunity to make more as individuals, or we can bring another team member on. And most of them choose to make more money and just work harder. Yeah. So, but it inspired me. I mean, his work ethics really inspired me, and I haven't had a really good kick in the pants like that in a while. Yeah. And so I was like, all right, I'm going after it harder this year. Yeah. Because I think it cost me probably, a ton of money to golf 5 days a week and not really pay attention to the outside business. So this last probably 5-6 months, I've been just swinging the bat as much as I can.
That's awesome. What motivates you now at this point? Because, like you said, you have the team that can do it all for you. You don't have to go to the office. You don't have to check emails the way they do. You developed this team. So what now motivates you to keep going? Like you said, swinging the bat.
I think finding new dynamic people to motivate and push up with me. You find some really good gems out there, and if you invest some time and effort to them, I love training and developing people. Yeah. What I like even more is I think the one thing really good about making money is to be able to give it away. So, I have some minimums. Like if I tip somebody, it's a minimum of $100.
That's awesome.
So if I go be a proud dad, and my daughter works at Boise Juice, I get a juice and tip them $100.
That's awesome.
Or, when I go waiter or server, those folks who are busting their tailpipe, no matter what, it's $300-$400. So I don't think I don't want to hoard money. I do. Yeah. It's nice to have and to go and do things and enjoy life and to have a future set for my kids. But I'm telling you what, you do some impactful stuff where you might not think $50 or $100 is a lot of money, but you hand it out to the right people. Like at Starbucks, if you get a coffee, you give them a $100 tip. Yeah. I think it's just more empowering, and it actually feels better to give it away than to continue to just simulate and hoard it. I think you get too greedy and self-centered, because money's evil, right? It's like the dirtiest thing in the world. Right. So giving away is like the best for me.
That's amazing. No, I love that. I'm fueled by generosity. That's what I told everyone that's been on this podcast so far. That's what fuels me, is generosity. Whether it's small or big, that's what gets me going. Obviously, I can't go and give out millions of dollars, but I can buy, a group home, a Nintendo Switch. I can go and pay somebody's rent for the month, something like that. And there's nothing more rewarding than helping somebody throughout life. Yeah. So I just want to applaud you for that, because there's not a lot of people doing that.
Well, I think there's a threshold where you don't want to give. I would never, and I'm trying not to say this word never ever. But I wouldn't recommend ever giving someone $1 million.
Of course.
Or even over $5 or $10 grand, depending on what their income, because I think the human nature is to go spend it on something crazy.
Well, if you don't know how to handle money, you don't know how to handle money. Right. Like what they say is that money is only going to show your true colors. Yeah. Like more of it is just going to show more of who you really are.
Well, I think that's true to a sense, but it's just like if you haven't experienced it. So, growing up like the way you did, when you said you went to McDonald's, it was like a treat. And if you never have any treats in life, or being able to get new shoes, or, have a nice jacket, people want to say, I have never had this, so let me get a treat. Yeah. I think it's why most people who are in a situation financially, that's why they do their taxes by January 2nd.
Yeah.
Because
get that refund.
They want their refund, and they want to actually have some moments where they can enjoy their lives stress-free.
Yeah.
And I think that's okay, but they just need the education on, like, how does that affect me throughout the remaining of the year?
Yeah.
And that's just leadership, right? They need the right people in their lives.
Yeah.
So one thing I do want to tell you is that my oldest brother gave me probably some really wise decision. He said, you're only going to excel as far as the people that you're around. And that's extremely true. But it doesn't mean you cut out all your buddies and your old homies you used to hang out with. It's the point of, you need to be around people who are educating you, or you can actually share with. Like, this podcast is probably the first time I ever talked about my financial situation. But I have a group of friends who are in the same financial situation, or let's say 5 or 10 times more.
Wow.
But we can actually release and talk about it without somebody saying, well, can I get a loan then? I get done all the time. I'm like,
hold a couple of dollars.
Or somebody says, hey, can you loan me $300? I'm like, what am I going to charge you interest?
On $300. Yeah.
I'd rather give it to them instead of getting disappointed.
Yeah.
And because once they say, no, I'll pay you back, it's not about necessarily the money. It's about their goodwill or their integrity. And so I don't put myself in situations where if somebody calls and asks for $500 or something, especially if it's somebody I've known for 20 years, I would just rather give it to them than expect to get a return.
Yeah. So when you say put yourself around people that are going to grow you, what does that actually look like? And over time, because what it sounds like is you didn't cut anybody out, but you now hang out with people that are at a higher class, I guess you could say, and they continue to grow you and stretch you, because that's just kind of the way it happens.
Well, I would say it doesn't necessarily mean the money. People with money grow me. So I like people with kind nature, very sweet, docile folks that I can hang around. And if I went to the store, if I died, I know they would take care of my family. Yeah. Right. Not just with money, but with, hey, can I shovel your driveway? Can I come over and clean your window? Those type of people. I would say the folks who generalize have more money. They're not growing me. They're allowing me to be able to share
your big dreams, your thoughts.
Not big dreams, just success. Like, if you have a day where you make a month or something, I'm trying to be as frugal as possible here. Yeah. Let's say you make $100,000.
You're trying to be frugal. You say $100,000 a month.
well, I'm just saying not frugal. I'm just saying if you make $100,000 in a business transaction, it's hard to talk to somebody else who's struggling with paying their rent or a car payment.
Right. It doesn't feel good.
And so some people who are already in that class, it's good to, like, if you're getting a win, you can share that with them, and they're like, congratulations, that's great. Right. But if you're around someone like, man, I had a hard time, paying my car payment or paying a doctor bill, and I'm like, oh, well, great, I made $100,000. So it's hard to share that. So most of my success stories in business, I only really can share with my daughters. Yeah. So I can come home and like, oh, Dad did this today, So that's awesome. All these peaks and valleys, and it hasn't all been smooth, and I've probably done some things that I don't say I regret, but I was too uneducated and ambitious to know that they were bad. Then up the road, I was like, oh, dang, Then I kind of might have screwed somebody over or did some crap. But I've done a ton of weird stuff. I've done visas for people out of bankruptcy. I worked with JP Morgan and Chase for about a year, de-identifying Bally's. I'd go in there and do a forensic audit on their books and told JP Morgan Chase who's stealing and who's not, because I was in my brain when I was younger, I was thinking everything as what I would do, kind of from a criminal minded person, right? I was like, oh, well, I'd take this, I would get the credit card terminals, I'll do this and that. Right. So we, but those were all fun things, We went to China and found 27 clubs that they didn't have, and we found a lot of crud.
So just like money laundering.
Yeah. Well, no, they were just forgot about it. I mean, they literally had these locations that they weren't getting any money from, right? They weren't getting any franchise fees from, and it was a debacle. But I learned a ton on that trade floor with JP Morgan and Chase about finances and numbers,
Yeah.
and how they do their work. It was so interesting.
So you've done it all. Like, you've literally done it all. You started with sales. Well, you started with before sales, but the turning point was taking a sales position. You started making 10 grand a month, became the GM, and that kind of sprouted you into where you are now.
Sure.
Like, how important is sales skills? Like, how important do you think that skill is to have?
Well, I think it's equivalent in the same manner as operations. What the problem early on was most salesmen think they can outsell a problem, and you need an operator, right, to forecast and operate the business.
Yeah.
A salesman who starts a business usually thinks, the next month's going to be the good sale.
Yeah.
The next month's going to be this. So I learned early on of losing tons of money and opportunity by thinking I was so good at sales or so arrogant that I didn't need to have an operational background. So I think they kind of go hand in hand. You need an operator. You need somebody to pull the reins back and say, no, we can't depend on this revenue or this sales if you don't have a good operator. So for me, and my experience is I put my staff as really anal retentive OCD operators.
Yeah.
Because I'm the crazy one.
Yeah.
I'm the one who's going out bringing a new business to them.
Yeah.
And then they kind of have to put it into a nice package and bow tie it up and push it out and keep it functional.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you don't have the operations side of it, your business is going to crumble.
Yeah.
So they're both equivalent, but you need both of them. Operators can't sell.
Right.
So they'll get in business and fail because they're not bringing in revenue, but they have the biggest plan ever.
The biggest and best.
Yeah, they're like, oh man, we're doing this, and they have everything on paper sounds good, but they still need to bring in revenue.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what really made us successful, is that my wife is an absolute assassin in business.
Yeah.
I mean, she, in my opinion, perspective, she could be a Fortune 500 CEO.
Wow.
But she's missing one gene, and that's the foot to ass gene. She's non-confrontational, but her quality of work is impeccable.
Yeah.
I mean, impeccable. She'll see stuff that no one can see. And that's kind of how we started our printing business.
Yeah.
I went out and grabbed the business, and she figured out, I mean, she taught herself how to do on Photoshop, how to do creatives and graphic design. She's just a genius. So a lot of my not a lot, but I would say 80% of me being in my position came from watching her.
That's amazing. This leads into one of my favorite questions. How important is it having that partner in your life as you are starting to develop all these businesses? How important is it to have someone that supports you or that gets you going the way your wife does?
I think it comes in phases. It's extremely important to have that rock. And so, when you come home, you have a partner and somebody who can take care of the kids. And I think with her, since she was ambitious and a businesswoman, that we had great we had a good team to where we can manage the babies together. Yeah. I'm not a sleeper, so I would stay up, at night until 3 or 4 in the morning, and then she would get some rest. And because I'm a 3-hour guy, right? 3 to 4 hours sleeper.
You sleep 3-4 hours.
Oh yeah, that's it.
What's your morning schedule look like? We'll get back to that question, but now you said 3-4 hours. Yeah. What's your morning schedule look like?
I'll go to bed between 12 and 1, and then I'll get up maybe 3:30, 4.
You're not lying to me right now?
No.
This is true?
Yeah, any person who knows me, no, I'm not a sleeper at all.
3 hours of sleep.
My brain races, and I'm like a TV fanatic. Yeah. So I'll get home and watch TV. But I actually started that schedule. I've never been a good sleeper, but I started that because I wanted to get to the golf course. And so if you get up at, let's say, 3, 4, I can put in 8 hours by noon. Yeah. Get my finances done, which is first and foremost. Yeah. I can send all my emails, and then depending on if you're dealing with East Coast, by the time I get done at 12, East Coast is at 2 o'clock. Yeah. And then here in Pacific Northwest, people are going to lunch. Yeah. I'm done, right?
You're done with your day.
I can get it done, and then after I get done with golf, I can go home and put in another 3 or 4 hours
with the family
before dinner. Yeah. Yeah. And then when the girls go to sleep, I'll work. It's never stops. Yeah. For working.
Wow, that's amazing. You sound like you're busy. How do you make time for family?
Not busy at all.
Not busy at all.
Nope. I don't think so. Because I don't stress.
Okay.
Because
dude, yeah, you're so cool, calm. Since you walked in the door, you have been the same emotion the entire time. At first, I was like, "Is this dude pissed at me? What I do? Did I text him too late?"
You know what's funny is that my wife will kind of give you a cosign on this, but people say that, but I'm like, man, I'm the nicest person ever. Yeah. When people say like, man, you look like you're mad or you're intimidating, and I'm like, I'm never in a bad mood. Yeah. I'm just chilling all the time. I don't think because I know no matter what. I know that if I went back and lived into a trailer, if I have my kids and my wife, then I know I could still be successful, right? As long as we put some food on the table.
That's success right there.
Right? Yeah. So that's where I know where the bottom is. Yeah. I don't think living in a trailer is a bottom, but I know we just have to change our lifestyle. Yeah. But I think the family is like core. But no, I'm always chilling. I mean, I'm the same way. Like I said, my biggest attribute, I think, is that I'm extremely giving. Yeah. But I do not put up with anything. Yeah. So I'm an attacker. Yeah. Because if I let something fester, then I get old Manzo. Yeah. Old Manzo, I had an extremely bad temper when I was younger. And so I keep my temper in my shoes right now. And if it gets up to my knees, I walk away. Yeah. But if it gets up to my brain, I'm like, sometimes I still think, violence sometimes is the key, but it's not. Yeah. I'm going to say that for camera reasons, but I do have that where I will attack until it's solved. Yeah. So I don't put up with any BS ever.
You ever seen the movie Casino?
Yes.
That's the type of energy you give me.
That's funny. No, man, I have a good time. I have a really good core group of friends. Me and the girls, I have a wonderful relationship with my daughters. We talk for hours and hours at night.
And you have amazing daughters. I have to point that out. You're so a good dude, and if your daughters are the way they are because of the way your wife and yourself raised them, you did a good job.
I appreciate that very much. Great job. It's like a super honor for us to keep them, and we've kept them in the church, as you know. They live at the church, They
shout out Trinity.
Yeah, Trinity, Jay and Damaris, they live at the church, and they've done that since they were little. So we wanted to get them their foundation. I think that was most important. And then as they get older, they get to choose their path. And Trinity just happened to choose the path of I'm talking if you scripted it, you couldn't get any better. Yeah. You know what I mean? No dating, no sex, no drugs, no alcohol, not kissing a boy. Yeah. Becoming a pastor, I mean, that's... Yeah. I was like, man, I won with that deal. Yeah, you did. And she set the precedence for the younger ones, right? Yeah. So they're like, oh, man. So, no, man, I think it's all about how you want to live your life and not having higher expectations than what your means are. Yeah. I mean, or go get it. Right? Yeah. Go after and chase some things. But people always, funny you say that, but I'm like, man, I'm so sweet to people. And people are like, man, you just have this. And I think it's just, I'm really confident in my heart.
It shows.
And I'm confident when I do work, when I'm into my business world, I'm extremely confident. But I do listen a lot. I have some buddies here who do such opposite business to me that's actually extremely fascinating because I believe once they tell me, then I can get better. Yeah. Yeah.
It sounds like you don't take yourself too seriously in a positive way. Like you don't take yourself as you've made it, you've arrived, you're above. The way you talk about, even when you refer to trailers or lower income, you don't make it seem like it's down here.
It's not.
Everyone's right here. Why is that? How did you develop that mindset of you're not better than anybody just because you have more finance than others?
Excuse my French, but because I piss and shit just like everybody else. Yeah. I mean, we're all human beings. We all bleed. We all die. Yeah. So just because I might have a different type of bank account doesn't mean I'm better than anyone. Yeah. And if you look at it, the most happy people that I've experienced is when I travel and you see in these third world countries, and these people are just amazing human beings. Yeah. And that's what life boils down to. It's like they're living the quality of life. Yeah. My wife and I went to Costa Rica about 6 weeks ago, and the people in Costa Rica, I was like, they couldn't get any better. And then we went to Jamaica, and they're like, couldn't get any better. But, when you see somebody living in a hut or just having sheet metal roof, and they're so kind and genuine, and they push off that nature.
Yeah.
That's real living.
Yeah.
To me, I mean, that's real living.
I think so too.
I actually would, if I seen somebody treating somebody like that, I would lose my cookies.
Yeah.
So, let's say if somebody's throwing like a water or soda on somebody who's a vagabond or on the streets,
yeah.
I would probably slap somebody in the mouth for that. Yeah. I just don't think you should.
Temper.
I just don't like bullies, and I don't think you should treat any human bad.
Yeah.
At all. I just don't think you should do that.
Yeah.
Now, there's some humans out there that probably deserve it or initiate that, then that's a different story. But I think everyone on this earth deserves to be treated correctly. Unless they've done something extremely wrong to you personally. Yeah. But if you don't know somebody, I mean, from Adam, you should treat them really well.
Yeah. I also have a bad temper. Well, at least I used to, and sometimes still do, but I used to be a bully.
Yeah.
And as I got older and as I started to really see how bad that affected people, man, I knew I had to cut it out, especially with going to a church that started to grow me spiritually and emotionally and allowed me to really fully develop into the man that I am starting to be today.
Sure.
Man, my whole entire life changed. I wouldn't be able to do this if I was still out there bullying people or pressing people or, harassing people, making them feel bad about themselves. It just wouldn't hit the heart the same way.
And what do you think? So I think you really don't know that. So I would say, I've been to quite a few high school reunions, and at the 10-year one, which was the first, and people were like, man, you and your buddies were just assholes when you guys were in. Like, what are you talking about? And then when you talk to them, and then you actually start, this is how we were really living, and we were going through our own situations at home, and people just don't know how your life is behind closed doors, and so that kind of shocked me. I didn't really realize that I probably was a bully in high school in certain aspects, but it was just, like I said, as a kid, I wouldn't even let my daughters marry the person that my wife married because I'm so different. I just changed. Such a different human being than I was when I was 23 when we met. Yeah. That I can't even recognize that person. And so I think the evolve of your brain and human and your heart and soul is just, you're just different. I'll be 50 this year, and so I'm just a different human being. Yeah.
Yeah. What is the purpose of Manzo Hodge at 49 years old?
The purpose, first and foremost, I always have to say my purpose is to actually get better in my faith. I would say I have some emotional scars of going through churches and seeing, the back end of church is actually heartbreaking.
Yeah, it's a business.
Yeah, it is a business, right? Mm-hmm. And so when you don't know that and you're naive to it and you see that, it's, kind of shocks you. Yeah. And then my family is the only other purpose, really. Yeah. And then I'm gonna throw out my golf. I love golf, so I can't sit here and tell no fibs. But I love golfing, and I really want to help people who are in my life to get them to whatever success level they want to achieve as well. I want to put my stamp on the fitness industry for sure, which I'm continuing to work at. It's fun. I've been doing that for almost 25 years. So it's been a crazy ride. It's been a hard ride to a degree. Fitness, brick and mortar is like one of the toughest businesses that I've ever did. Yeah. I would never go back to it. So we do a lot of ancillary revenue in that, and that's fine. But like I said, if I did anything different right now, it would be I'd have to get my walk stronger, right? My walk in faith. Okay. I have to get that. Everything else is great. I have too many complaints. Like I said, I have wonderful family. My daily life is pretty simple as far as what I do with my time. Yeah. When you said, do you have any time restraints? I said no, but when it gets about 12:15, I know I'm golfing at 1 o'clock. It's on and cracking. Yeah. So there's not much. I would say any advice I would give people, again, is just live within your means. Yeah. And if you're not working 80 hours a week and you really want to go get it, then I think it's going to be a really hard task unless you're given a foundation, which, coming from money. Mm-hmm. If you have a foundation, then great. But if not, you got to put in 80 hours. So if you make $9 an hour, it can turn to 18 if you get 2 full-time jobs. And I've seen my parents do that. My grandparents do that. So you can work enough. There's plenty of hours in a day to work.
Yeah.
And a question I have for you is, why did you choose $1 million a year? What is that kind of, why is that the staple point of a dollar figure?
Yeah. I guess I've been the one asking all the questions, huh?
Yeah.
So for the $1 million, to be honest with you, I said it in the last podcast, it's for the clicks. If I make $1 million this year, great. If I don't, great. It's really just to get the clicks and to show the audience and young people coming up that there are good entrepreneurs like yourself.
Sure.
It was just a platform starter. And do I want to make financial breakthrough in my life? Absolutely. But the money is not the end all be all.
Sure.
I have my list of important things, and it's my faith, my wife, my family, my friends, then my finances.
Sure.
I don't care about my finances if these 4 things aren't where they should be. So the $1 million, it's for the click. Click on my video, watch what I'm talking about, and I hope by the end of it you're transformed as well.
Sure.
And the finances, who cares?
So rule of thumb, it's easier to get a business to make 20 grand a month than 100.
It's easier to get a business than make
20 grand a month than 100. And so when I was first starting, I was thinking 5 grand a month. If I get a business to continue that, that's 60 grand. And I'm talking your bottom line dollars.
Yeah.
Not including, your salary and your expenses and whatnot, your bottom line dollars. Yeah. But if you start, like, I'm going to use the scenario because I don't forget too much of your brother's idea. So if you think about it, let's say if it panned out on a spreadsheet and the capital wasn't so heavy that it's going to affect your core business or your family, and he could make 20 a month, and you go off and get these 5 companies that you can make them 20 grand a month, and you're at your $1 million pretty easy.
Yeah.
Instead of trying to get one business to really hit 100 grand, $200,000, $300,000 a month. Yeah. Those are a little longer driven.
Right.
But I mean, like your business you have now, you can get that to hit it. And then between you and your brothers and your family, if you get 5 businesses that are making 20K, you're at your $1 million.
Yeah,
and so you can put it, and then those from that 20K, they'll just climb. And so what I did learn is that you have to be prepared for the worst. So like 2008, people got crushed. 2020, people got crushed. So in 2020, we actually had our biggest year because I pivoted. I didn't stand still. So I was importing a lot of T-shirts and so forth from the gyms. I changed that factory into a mask factory.
Yeah, you did. I remember this.
You
crushed.
Well, I'm talking slaughtered. I mean, it was.
Dude, yeah, I remember this.
Insane.
Keegan told me about this.
So I was funny. I asked my partner, one of my buddies. I was like, "Hey, this is what's coming." We did it first as a charity because we were watching the news. They couldn't get this. I was like, man, I can get those in like a week. Yeah. Called them, brought them over. We bought, I think, 100,000 masks. We gave them to the city of Eagle, to my wife's grandma, their nursing home, and we gave it away for charity. And then we started getting calls like, how are you getting these? I'm like, just DHL them over. It's nothing. So we did this thing in Eagle, and we started giving away masks. And believe it or not, at that time, the boxes had Chinese writing on them. Yeah. People were throwing, like, we don't want anything that's Chinese. I'm like, well, dude, throw your cell phone away, half your furniture.
Yeah, throw everything away.
What are you talking about? Like, this is ridiculous. So we literally just went and labeled all the masks Bitprint marketing. Yeah. Because my brain was like, we'll have a ton of impressions out there, and people go to our website and go help our core business back once everything's done. But we sold millions and millions of masks, gloves, body bag. I still have probably like 500 gallons of hand sanitizer in my warehouse right now. About a month ago, we threw away 1 million masks. Wow. Because the market was out of it, right? Right. And they started selling them. So it was one of those things that I pivoted and it just became extremely lucrative. Yeah. I think we did, $18 million in PPE in 2020.
Did you guys killed?
We killed it. I mean, it was ridiculous, but we pivoted. So Mine, tell you what, about a business, the hardest part about business is your employees, because if you really invest into them, your mistakes as a business owner will affect fivefold. So let's say hypothetically, you're my boss. Well, I have 3 kids, wife at home. If you make a bad decision or an arrogant decision, you're crushing it. So that's what actually kept me up at night when I was in Seattle, because we had a ton of employees. I think we had like 1,500, 2,000 employees across the board. And so I was like, okay, these decisions that I made.
You have 2,000 employees?
We did.
Okay.
Years back. But right now, I got tired of employees. So I scaled, like right now we have, I think a total of 12. Okay. And that's including my wife, myself, and then now my daughter's working for us. So we have 9 employees outside of family. Okay. But any decision you make, when you start looking at it and you start beating these folks and their husbands or wives and the kids, and it goes through your brain, like, my decisions really affect more than just Manzo and the Hodge household. And so that's a little bit, I would say, you get a little nerve-wracked on that, because if you're a gunslinger in business, you make some silly decisions that pan out terribly, and you can make some that pan out excellent. So you got to be fully aware of everyone else that's working for you.
Yeah. Yeah, dude, people are your greatest assets. Like, what you do with people, whether good or bad, it's going to hit you.
Yes.
Yeah, it's going to hit you. Yeah. 100%. So for you, building teams, building people up, what does that look like when you're pouring into your employees? How could I be better as a business owner to pour into my brothers? And I'm also a W-2 employee. I'm a sales manager for Signature Roofing. I'm sure you know Joe O'Connell, but he always pours into me, and he's allowed me to like move within his company and then even peel off and do things like this and help my younger brothers. Like, that to me is a great boss to work under. Sure. So what do you do as a boss, and what should people do that are currently working W-2 jobs? Like, what should they be looking for?
First and foremost, not everyone's an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And it depends on their stress factor. So if they're working a W-2 job and trying to start their own business, if you don't have capital, if you're not liquid, it's going to be a tough deal. Yeah. So I would say, depending on your mindset, you should stay in whatever lane that actually makes you happy and keeps you less stressed, so that doesn't pour onto your family. Yeah. I ask each one of my employees the same thing. And I'll ask you this, what's your view of retirement? So if you walk off in the sunset, is there a dollar figure? Do you want $5,000, $15,000, $20,000, $30,000 a month coming in residually? What do you think you could kind of be at, like financially? Like, if you had 30 grand coming in a month and you're 55 years old or 40 years old, what's a number for you?
A number for me, I'm not too sure, just because times change and things get more expensive. I told my younger brother yesterday, like, I can't quit my W-2 because I get paid 20 grand a month there, and I can't go back to making 10 grand because that affects my wife and it affects our future. So I can't do that. So I'm currently working my W-2, building capital, trying to buy properties, and also running this business alongside my brothers, who work extremely hard. Sure. They're my partners. They're not just employees. They work extremely hard. They're brilliant. They have great ideas. So it's great to have them. But in order for me to retire, I don't know, I think that 20 to 30 grand would be more than enough.
Okay, so I would
residually,
say,
coming in.
Yeah, so I would say, if you look at getting, and we'll talk about maybe a mid-grade, if you got a 7% return on your dough, so you can figure out how many millions of dollars you need for that, right? Yeah. So per million, you're going to make, let's say, 7% of that, which is 70 grand. Yeah. So in yours, you might need $2.5 million in cash. And when I'm saying that, it's your cash is still working for you, right, to get to your number. Right. So that's what I ask my employees, like, what's your goal? And whether it's 10, 20, 30, then they got to work like they want to retire. Yeah. And that's the thing at work. We're like, work like you want to retire. Because no matter what, we have a small enough company, and even a large enough, when we get to our goal, we either have two choices. So about a year ago, I was thinking, all right, I'm going to sell it. make me some money, and get out. And then because I looked at the age brackets of like my top few employees, and I was 48, I had another person 48, my wife's 30. Sorry, my wife's 30. I didn't
even catch it the first time.
Yeah, she's 30. Okay. Yeah, she's 30.
She's 20. She's 25.
So yeah, my wife's 30. And so I looked at a 5-year plan, and everybody's going to be in their 50s to 55, and that wasn't conducive to a long-term business strategy for having employees. And over the last year, and my CEO, she's 34, and so she's been with me since she's 19. And so
wow.
We have her. She has plenty of gas in the tank. And then we started finding, like Trinity came in, and she's 22. Another gal came in, 21. And so I was like, okay, now we have a team that can actually have enough gas in the tank to
keep going,
continue the company. And so that actually gave me a different kind of gear and motivation to say, okay, we can keep rolling. If not, I was going to sell and just continue to invest into property or other things.
Yeah.
But so I asked my top 3 people, and they have some pretty humble, but high goals of what they want and how they want to live their lives. And so I kind of put that into my brain for my perform of how much money we need to do to retire. Because the big boy, Uncle Sam's going to snatch 50.
Yeah.
Right? So they're going to take 50% of whatever.
He's rich.
Huh?
He's rich.
Rich. So they're going to snatch 50. And then after that, what I want to leave for my family is going to be X amount of dollars. And then I have enough to pay out the employees. So I want to keep it small and tight.
Yeah.
But I would ask everybody, what's their future of dollars for retirement?
Yeah.
And work until you get there. That way there's no, I didn't make enough. Well, hey, dude, you told me. On April 1st or May 1st of 2023, this is where you want it. So I'd ask them what their goals are.
Yeah.
And if they're unrealistic, even better. Work harder.
Yeah. Yeah. I was super conservative with my answer. If it was Joel asking me that question, just because we're on a different relationship, I'm like, billion, whatever, I'm out there, but he likes to pull me back down to earth. And with my wife, she's out there, I'm out there when it comes to our goals and our dreams and our visions. And I think it's good. Have big dreams.
Yeah.
Like let your dreams be big.
Right now?
25.
So it gets so easier when you're older.
Does it?
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
Does it?
Yeah. Because you'll see your friends who are kind of in between. Some of them will shoot up and mature and grow their own businesses, but the best business right now for marketing is networking. And so if I have a group of buddies who are in my age, 50 to 55, and who've made rather HVAC or electro, a lot of blue collar guys have made some big companies, you can go invest. Hey man, you want to throw in $100,000 or 50 grand or 200 grand a piece at this? It gets easier. And then
that's true.
It gets so much easier. And then the connection of, like, for example, if you continue with roofing and you take over that, and I'm building townhomes or whatever, I can call you and straight on the phone. I'm not getting some.
Well, I know why you haven't.
I'm not getting some. You haven't networked with me yet.
It's my fault.
So, but I'm saying, like, if you think about that, and I can just call and we can go straight line to each other.
Yeah.
And I'm like, hey man, I'll need this. Cool. You're my homie. I'll give you a good deal. My company's still going to make a piece, but I'm not going to charge you a 30 or 40% rip just so you can come up. And they go reciprocal. So I had a group of older gentlemen tell me back in the day, they had like 4 or 5 of them, and they sat in a room and they said, okay, you're an electrician, you're an HVAC, you're a real estate person, I'm a plumber. Any person that comes to something in one of our verticals, we're going to push it to each other.
I like it.
And so they kept pushing it to each other, and it allowed them to expand. So if I pushed you $100,000 deal, and you're like, hey, you know what? Consultancy fee, I'll give you 10 grand. Thanks, brother.
Yeah.
And it keeps being circled. So you keep circulating your money. So I think a lot of my friends and we circle the money. So if it's something that somebody needs, if you came to me and needed something, and I knew one of my buddies had what you need, I would connect the dots.
Yeah.
Right. And after a while, you don't need the kickback or the rebate.
It's just that's your boy. You take care of your boy. He takes care of you. Yeah.
Yeah. All the time. So I would say networking is huge. And then at 25, you want to get some probably, and you have a really good mentor in Joel, so that's awesome. But you do want to get some gray hairs, right?
Yeah.
That's what when you're a young leader. Sometimes,
you got some.
Oh, I got plenty. I earned all these. But, I was a little bit of insecurity was when I was a young leader, I would step in some rooms with some people, let's say my age, and they wouldn't be as serious until I spoke. And then could take over the room, with whatever magnetism I think I have.
Right.
And so I would start having somebody who was maybe a little bit older, and so would kind of deflect their attention of somebody who had some gray hair, even though I was in command of the situation. So, and then getting some knowledge from some folks who are older and staying around them, whether it's lunch. Like we have a thing, Monday meeting, a group of boys who set up, and we go meet on Mondays, and we sit there and just talk and network over business. A lot of it's beer, but it's networking.
Beer and business.
Yeah, beer and business. So a lot of it's networking with a group of like 12 of us.
That's cool.
And so I think the knowledge of different people's businesses are really fascinating. Yeah, and you can learn a lot from it.
So would you say your advice to the 25-year-old would be start networking?
Yes.
Network.
Be humble while you network. Yeah. Sometimes it's just listening. But have enough confidence in yourself. Sometimes it's controlling too. Right? Yeah. If you know what you're talking about in that situation, you shouldn't hesitate to take control of it. Yeah. Right. Period. So I would network a lot as much as possible, but I wouldn't be scared to control the network either.
Okay. I like that. And then in closing, what advice do you have to people coming up, young entrepreneurs or people that are in the marketplace wanting to break through, get a raise, break that 6-figure mark? Like, what advice do you have to those who want to grow in business?
6-figure mark, first and foremost, put your 80 hours of work in. Okay. Like, I don't care if it's a job and a half. If you have a full-timer and you got to go work at Texaco or Subway or somewhere to make some extra coin, I would always grab and work. I mean, think about a 16-hour day. Yeah. Right. But you still have to have the mental fortitude to handle that, not be stressed, and not put it on your family or friends. Yeah. If you don't have that, then I would say stick to your 9 to 5. Okay. But if you can circumvent and the stress and leave it at the door, and so other people aren't getting lashed out for those problems, then I would go after. I would go after businesses that you want to look at least between a 2 and 3 year return on. Okay. Right. So there's a kind of a fine line where at 20 grand a month, you're probably in a 35 to 40% tax bracket. So, you're losing 8 grand in taxes. So you're bringing in 12, maybe 12.5. If you take that 8 grand that you're going to lose throughout the year and you invest it into a business, it'll offset. Yeah. So that's kind of my rule of thumb. I try to, if I'm going to lose it in taxes, I might as well invest it into a business to make it offset. Yeah. And that's what I think having somebody smarter than me, a CPA, to kind of navigate you through that, or somebody who's really good in financials. But if you're going to lose it in tax money,
might as well lose it in business.
Heck yeah. 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 So it's just a different way.
Because you're not losing it anymore.
You're not losing it anymore. Yeah. You're actually investing into yourself. Yeah. Right? So if you're going to lose it from your W-2, you might claim something different. Again, talk to your CPA and get your whole 20 and set aside your tax money, but invest it into another business. Yeah. Something that you can navigate, or it could be, and I'm going to keep teaching you, could be your brother's business. It could have been a good idea that you shot him down with. So, but I would, that's kind of a good rule of thumb. If you want to invest into a business that you think, okay, it's going to take us 2, maybe 3 years to get a return on, nothing's ever simple. I mean, yes, there's the unicorns out there, but a business usually takes about 2 or 3 years to nurture. Okay. And be very willing to close that business. Math over emotions. Math over emotions. So if you are emotionally tied to a business.
That's the title of this one, Math over Emotions.
If you're emotionally tied to a business, dude, you'll lose so much money. So, you make your dough. And then you go do all the stuff that you dreamed of afterwards, in my opinion. Yeah. Because then it's not affecting your livelihood. But if you have to come home and like you depend on a business and it's so much on your family's income, it's going to put too much pressure on you.
Yeah.
So I would think 2 or 3 year return, have enough capital for that, or invest however you want to, or find partners. There's nothing wrong with partners. You can still control your business by an operating agreement. You can have 51%, but still, I think it's up to 72 or 75%, 70-something% that it's forced, as far as voting rights.
Yeah.
But you can alpha and mega through an operating agreement. So you can write your operating agreement, still own 30-40% of the company, raise the capital, but still control the operations.
Dude, there's weight classes to entrepreneurship. And I am the lightest of weight. I'm a featherweight. And you're a heavyweight. A lot of the stuff you're saying, I'm gonna have to re-listen to this podcast and have to look it up, because it's like, dude, you're thinking way different than I am.
24 years though. I mean, you got to think about yourself in 24 years.
Yeah.
Just the fact that you're even seeking education at your age is incredible. So it doesn't matter where somebody's at. Now, if you had a 25-year-old person who's like, yeah, I grew up in a trailer and I'm 25 and I got, $10 million in the bank. Yeah. I get it. That's crazy, unless they've been handed to them.
Yeah.
Because I don't think people even have a collective thought until they're like 16, and I think that's girls. Guys are like 23. Like we're stupid a long time. But at 25, just how you carry yourself and what you're actually thinking for your future, you're already above grade of 99% of kids your age.
Thank you.
Probably more. So just think of the age bracket. I mean, I've learned a lot in the last 24 years. Yeah. I learned the person who I don't want to be, and I learned about the person I am, and I'm still going to continue to evolve into a different human. And so you shouldn't look up to anything like that. It's just the age, right? So I wouldn't look up to it. Now that you know it, you just said it, you're going to go back and listen and learn it. Yeah. Most people would just be like, I can't do that. Yeah. No, they're going to be lazy and unfocused, but you're going to go back and research the knowledge and then figure it out, right? Yeah. So that's just saying you're going to stay in that 1% bracket probably for the majority of your life. Yeah. Because you're going to seek education. Yeah. So
absolutely.
Age is different. I mean, there's some guys I know, 77, this gentleman, and I'll use his name. His name's Butch Kirtley, and he's like 70. And he's not 77. He's like 72, 73. Yeah. Amazes me how smart he is.
Stay sharp.
Stay sharp.
Because he's kept learning.
He kept learning. He's still on technology. I mean, he's just a brilliant man. And he grew up in Star. I think he had some stuff, of course, some family, but he's very frugal, but very sharp. I mean, he's quick-witted all the time. So
I love it.
I think the age matters too. Yeah. If you choose to assimilate information over a long period of time. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, guys, when you asked me about why the $1 million goal, I didn't even go as deep as I wanted to. It allows me to get guys like you in a room like this, like putting a platform on it and allowing your wisdom and the last few guests' wisdom to be shared to an audience. Forget the money.
I think you're wrong.
That's more than enough for me.
I think you're wrong. Only reason I'm sitting here is because I know you're a man of God and you go to our church. Otherwise, I would never have done this podcast.
Go to church.
I would have never done that. If I didn't know you didn't go to the church and I know your background and where your heart's at, I would never sit down with somebody like this. I don't care if you're going for a $10,000 goal.
Well, that's a compliment to me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's a compliment to, I think, everything that you're surrounding yourself with. But this is literally a reflection of you as a man and your character. I
appreciate that.
Otherwise, I would never do this.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Man, no, thank you. That means a lot. That means a lot. I've been working on my character and who I am over the last 5 years, and you don't hear it enough. So I actually do want to take a moment to say thank you.
Oh, you're so welcome.
I appreciate that. I appreciate your compliment, and I'll probably think about it all day. It just pushes me to continue to grow as a person outside of finances. I love sitting here and talking with people like you because the finances, it's great, but it's like the last thing on the list.
Yeah, it is.
Like there's so much more to life than just money. And I tell the audience all the time, money alone will never sustain you. You got to keep the first things first. And that's what it's all about. But man, Manzo, thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. We're gonna have you on at least one more time. I need more. I need more.
I'd love to, and I'd love to see some other guys, and
That'd be awesome.
It'll be amazing, I think, to you to realize that their core values are just blue collar.
Yeah,
it's really interesting. Like the majority of folks that I hang out with, I would say in the upper 90% are blue collar folks that, they had their hard hat and lunch pail and they just went to work and
that's awesome.
grinded a business. So there's a key probably 5 or 10 guys that I'd love to, and their personalities are going to be from all over the map.
I love it. That'd be awesome.
The one of the people I tell you is his name's Ramesh Kreisenbeck, and he was my buddy in immersion, and his story is
nuts.
It's nuts, dude.
I want them all.
I'm talking nuts, and he probably will need some convincing to tell his true story, because he's a very humble person. But his story, man, I tell you what he's came through adversity wise, it's zero to what you and I have.
Wow,
zero. I mean, he's just amazing. And when you meet his demeanor, it's crazy.
Yeah. No, that'd be an honor. That'd be awesome. That's networking right there, is sitting down and being connected with other people. So, I would really appreciate that. Absolutely. And I know that everybody else would too.
Yeah.
But man, Manzo, thank you. Thank you for giving us all that knowledge and everything that you do have. And the only thing I can't apologize for is next time we have you on, I'm gonna have to tell everybody that you're not that good at golf. But
if you want to come see me, if you want to come see me, 5 days a week, Spurwing Country Club, you want to come down there?
Yeah, Spurwing, that one's membership only, isn't it?
Well, what's after that you coming? I'm giving you an invite, right?
I'm there.
I'm just saying, man. It's a pride or pockpopocketbook.
All right.
So it's either you're betting cash or we're playing for animal push-ups.
I'll bet everything.
All right,
I'll bet the house.
Let's go.
Man, there you guys have it. Manzo Hodge, a man that is true to what he says. Entrepreneur at all levels. So, man, Manzo, thank you. Guys, do not forget to subscribe, like this video, comment what your favorite thing was. Go follow his platforms. Plug them again.
Nutrition to Go. So Fitprint Marketing and Giggy D's and Immersion Development. So
there we go. Yes. Man, guys, we thank you. And we'll see you next time. Peace.
Thank you.